I got money on my mind. I'm just trying to get some dough. I ain't picking up my line unless it's money on the phone.
Did you learn that while you were in the corporate space? Did you learn about investing in real estate at the university, or did you have people whenever you're growing up kind of talking about this? Where'd you get that idea?
Nobody was talking about real estate, man. I was just, man. So what happened is I was at a Sweet 16 for my little cousin Tasia, and this is back in 2019 as well, right? And my older brother Sean, he's 6 years older than me. He's didn't take the corporate path. He works at National Grid, but he gets paid, he gets good money. He does like the oil and gas lines and stuff like that. So he came to me one day and he was like, yo, it was at the Sweet 16. He was talking. He was like, yo, like, I know you on your business stuff because you doing that. He was like, yo, I got this idea. Like, people from my job, they all own real estate, right? And these people, no college degrees, making $200,000 at National Grid, no cap, and just again, skilled labor and trades, right? And so he was like, yo, Brandon, like, we should jump on this real estate. We were talking about New Jersey real estate, Newark. He was like, yo, like, one of my mans just bought a 4-family for like 200,000. Look, pulled up the Trulia app while we sitting there, sipping at Sweet 16. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. You just talking whatever. Because I was just trying to downplay him because he wasn't in the business space like me. Mm-hmm. And although he's older than me, I was like, man, Sean don't know what he's talking about. But then, I was like, so then he hit me again like a month later. I was like, yo, bro, like, I'm telling you, the real estate's going up in Jersey. If you got some money on the side, I know you in the corporate world, let's get on a deal. And I was like, all right, let me just see what this guy got to say. I started doing the research, Zillow, Trulia, and I was like, oh, wait, okay. 3-4 families, like 250. So, okay, 4 doors, 3 doors. So then I started hitting the podcast game. Shout out to y'all, man. The podcast is crazy. Bigger Pockets podcast. I dove into every episode that I could, and they talk about real estate mostly. And I remember just listening to episodes on like multifamilies, listening to episodes on house hacking and those different topics. And I didn't know what it was. Even in the corporate world, I didn't know what the hell house hacking was. And so I started to realize and learn all these topics. And I was like, yo, and that's when I heard about the FHA. And I was like, oh, so you telling me that we just need 3.5%? We're gonna get a crib? Oh, it's lit. After that, I said, Sean, how much we need. We went on Zillow. We got a realtor because they connect you with realtors and stuff. We started going out there, and then our weekends became, yo, we're gonna be looking for a house now, because I had the salary, and that's why I always say you got to take yourself seriously, because again, you need the salary to prove the income limits, right? Your debt to income, you need to make sure that your income is high, your debt is low. So I always keep my debt low, and so I pulled out some money from my 401k, because you could actually use money from your 401k to buy your first home. Key fact, right? And so I pulled out money from my 401k. I had a little bit of a nest egg on the side. Sean had some cash. So I think we invested 19,000, was 3.5%. We bought our first property in Jersey, Newark, in a growing area called Weequahic, for $375,000. And it was gonna cash flow, overall like $5,300 a month. And we was gonna net like $1,900 and then put $250 in a repair fund, split $700 or $770 each. And we just did it, jumped in. We had no experience. But what we also did is we bought a turnkey property. And so with the turnkey joint, we didn't have to do any rehab, we didn't have to do any fixing. It was done up. So all we had to do was we got the keys. It was beautiful. I mean, it was like one of the nice houses on the block. And I think the previous owner brought it as a foreclosure, put the $100,000 in there, and then he flipped it to us. But we didn't want to do too much. Sean worked full-time. I worked full-time at the business on the side. So we ended up buying this turnkey, got 3 tenants. One tenant was Section 8, 2 was just regular tenants, all Black families. And I was really critical on that, right? Because it was a beautiful place. And it's been over 2 years. They've never not paid rent on time. Even the Section 8 tenant, it's been excellent. That money's coming in from the government. And on top of that, it's just been great. And so that real estate play kind of came out of nowhere, but then it's just realized that, there's an opportunity. And the crazy thing about it is I kind of slacked, and I should have took Sean serious a little bit earlier, because it took us like 5-6 months to close the deal. And in that time, man, the real estate went up crazy. So when we got like the tail end of the 3-4 families, you can't even get a 3-4 family for that price in Jersey at this point. And I think the house is worth about $500,000 now, a year and a half later.
Insane. I got to give you the clap, bro.
Hey, real talk. Hey, my brother, I also want you to walk it back, because you mentioned the borrowing from the 401k plan. People really don't know about that as an option. Can you talk about that a little bit more, like how that process played out for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So because I was working in the corporate, right, they was matching my 401k contributions. And so you could invest in your 401k pre-tax, and post-tax. So I think I was doing like pre-tax or something like that. So it was before that they was taxing it. So it was going to be building up a little bit higher cash value a little bit earlier. And I think the idea behind it is that when you then retire, you'll pay the taxes, or something like that, whatever the case may be. But I did know that they was matching it. So it was good. They was putting in a little, 25% match or whatever. And over a year or so, I had like 8, 9, 10 bands in my 401k. And traditionally your parents say, oh, don't touch your 401k, blah, blah, blah. But that's like, if you want to go take it out and go do something stupid with it. But I knew I was going to go take this money and then put it into an asset, right? And so you can actually pull from your 401k with no penalty if you're using that money for your first home. A lot of people don't know about that. And I didn't even know about that. That's how I do my research. And so I pulled that money out, and there was like a justification box, like, why are you pulling your money out? Because if not, oh, you get taxed crazy, like 20% at the top, and then
penalties and all that.
And come tax season, you also get taxed again. And so I didn't get taxed on that money because it was going straight into my first home because I was still young. It was my first home. Doesn't matter if it was an investment property or not. And so I was able to leverage that capital because I didn't have too much in my bank account, but I had a decent little bit in my 401k because I was just putting money every paycheck period, like $370 in my 401k every single pay. It don't sound like a lot, but then that's $700 a month over a year and a half. You got some, and then they're matching it. You got some money in your 401k. And so you could actually tap that to do certain things. I think like funerals or like real estate, like they'll either it's like tax deferred or you don't get taxed for it at all. And so I benefited from that. It was super smooth. I said YOLO, because I went broke buying that first house. I'm not gonna lie, because I took that 401k money and I had a little bit extra I needed. And I went broke buying that first. So I had no money in my account. I was like, Sean, this better be worth it. But it was good. I mean, after we bought the house, we only needed to buy a mailbox, some security cameras, and that was it. That was it. And I remember I went on Trulia. I created a little listing, and I did something crazy too. So as we were buying the house, I don't know if it's legal or not, but as we were buying the house, when we was getting ready to close, what I did is you got the inspection thing. So when we had the inspection, I was kind of there. And so I was taking pictures of the unit right before we closed. So I had some nice photos. So I went on Trulia before we closed and put up the listing for the apartment rental. So by the time that we closed on the house, in a week, we did an open house, and I already had like a bunch of people who was interested, and we put tenants in 2 weeks from the time that we closed. We didn't even, it was like smooth. Whole unit was filled. Whole unit was filled 2 weeks after we closed. Now, I think that was crazy because sometimes it takes forever to find the tenants. But I was like, I got these photos. We're going to I put the little listings, 1,900, 1,700, and then 1,400 for the 2-bedroom one because it's 9 bedrooms, 3 baths, 3 family. And so it was just, and it was just like, boom, now we own a real estate, and it was that easy. So that's what really helped me because, when I quit the job, I had the real estate coming in. It's a small check, but it's something, and then I had the little nest egg. And so, the real estate game is crazy, and I'm still looking to buy more real estate when the time comes, but I'm calm right now because I got one, it's cash flowing positive. My tenants are amazing. And so it's just a little something every first of the month.
Hey, I love it. I appreciate you sharing that, my brother. Cause we wouldn't have known that you'd done that play, but once again, helping people understand that it's more to it than just what you hear. Like you're not just gonna jump off the porch. You gotta have strategy with this shit. You can't just be out there like, hey man, fuck it. I'm just gonna do what I'm gonna do. Cause I feel like that was a regret of mine, man. Like,
yeah, me too, man.
I had an FU fund, like I had savings and shit, but whenever you don't have all these other contingencies laid out, you're gonna be out there trying to figure it out for a minute, man.
Playing off your back foot instead of you actually having the plan and you being proactive instead of reactive.
Thanks. But Brandon, my brother, I want to hop into the resumes just a tad bit more with you. So I had one question for you earlier. Like, what do you think is the biggest mistake people make when writing resumes?
Man, so let's talk about it. So when it comes to the resume game, and it's a billion-dollar business, writing these resumes, helping people with the professional branding and coaching, because like I said, when people need a resume, a lot of times they don't know what they're doing. And we talk about some of the biggest mistakes. First things first is people still have these objective statements on a resume. And I don't know where they came from, but the objective gotta go, right? People know, recruiters, headhunters, hiring managers, they know what your objective is by you even applying. So we can replace the objective statement with a professional summary, right? That's one of the first things. Professional summary, 3-4 sentences, high level, years of experience, and 2 or key things that really differentiate yourself from everybody else, right? And then secondly, a lot of times people are missing sections on their resume. So every resume needs a skills section, hard skills, right? Software programs, technologies, and tools. So if you don't have skills, because what happens is there's a concept called ATS. And an ATS is an applicant tracking system. It's the software that all the recruiters and hiring managers use to sift through the resumes, dozens, hundreds of resumes that get submitted for a job. On average, 250 resumes per open job, per job opening. And so what happens is, these recruiters are trying to parse through the resume and keywords and searching and filtering. And so if you don't have the right keywords and in today's day and age, skills on the resume, you're going to get passed over, because again, if candidate A doesn't have the right skill sets, but then candidate B does, I'm calling candidate B all day, every day, right? And so a lot of times people are missing the right sections. They might have, and then also let's talk about it, how you order the sections, because again, depending on where you're at from a career perspective, if you're an executive, for example, let's say you're a VP of marketing at Nike, right? The college experience that you had about 13, 15 years ago is not the most relevant to have at the top of your resume. The first third of a resume is what people actually look at. And in that 8 to 10 second glance, if they don't figure out that in that first little, review, if this even worth pursuing, they're not even gonna look at it more. They're going straight to the no pile. And that's even if you made it to someone actually looking at it, okay? Because these scanning systems, these parsing technologies, they're real sophisticated, and you go straight to the no pile. And so a lot of times how you order in terms of relevancy, the section, so that the most important information is on the first third of the resume, of the first page, that's what's super critical. And people don't know that. So they'll have all the garbage information at the top. And if I look at that and if I don't get any indication of that you're a good candidate from that first glance, I'm not wasting no time. I have a lot of recruiters in my network. I talk to them every single day. I know what they're looking for. And so that's one of the biggest things, is how we're ordering the resume in terms of relevance, the relevancy factor. And then to top it off is the bullet points. And so a lot of times people have, man, if you got a resume, open up your resume right now, because you might have that 4 or 5 word bullet point, and that's not it. It's not enough information to contextualize what you've done. The reason that resumes, and we write 5-star resumes, is because it has the contextual impact built in, right? So it's not about what you did, right? It's about what did you do to do that, and then what was the impact? So there's an XYZ formula that we use in terms of writing these resumes that work. It's not just I'm gonna write a resume. It's like we have a whole methodology and how we go about doing this, and it's very successful. So it's all about the accomplishments, it's about the achievements, it's about the impacts and the success stories. That's what people care about. Not just that you launched a podcast, but did you launch a podcast with over 300,000, monthly users that then increase, brand awareness by X%? That's what people care about, right? And so that's the impact that people don't really get, and they'll just put their duties. But we need to move away from duties to more accomplishments and success stories.
And I got another question. I heard you say, on the first page, a lot of times people think that I just need a 1-page resume.
Yeah.
Is that still the standard in today's industry, or is it okay for you to have a 2-page resume?
So 1 page is definitely the standard, but it definitely does depend based off of where you're at from a seniority perspective. Okay, so if you're at entry level, hands down, you need a 1-page resume. Even if you're a mid-career professional, so you might have like 3 to 12 years of experience, you can be able to condense that. And condensing it into 1 page is good, because it shows the folks that you're able to synthesize information and put what's critical, right? Because not everything is critical. Let's be honest. When you get a job, you got that job description. I got like 8, 9 bullet points of what you're going to do. When you get into that job, you're going to do 100 different things. Let's be honest. But it's about what's relevant and what's going to definitely move the needle as it relates to what they're hiring for. Okay. So a lot of times, people don't realize that. And so 1 page is definitely the standard in a sense, but if you're an executive that has 15, 20, 30 years of experience, we might need to do a 2-pager because of the breadth of experience, to where we might need to capture certain things. And you just got a lot to talk about. We might have core competencies, professional summary, right? And have other things on there. Your technical skills might be across different systems, different programs, right? And so sometimes it is critical for a 2-pager, but never more than a 2-page resume at all. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And no funky colors, no funky fonts. People put like this random weird stuff on a resume. I've seen resumes with like pink words and I even saw a resume with a dog on it. So, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. And so that's just some of the quick things that people don't really realize. And it doesn't matter if you're the entry-level graduate or you're the VP executive, the VP at TD Bank, 17 years of experience. I talk to these people on a daily basis. I talk to CEOs. I talk to chief of staffs. Nobody understands how this stuff works. You'd be surprised.
Wow.
I can imagine, bro. Like most people, when it comes to writing a resume, they going on Word or they going on whatever document processor they got. They're gonna click on the little template and they gonna just change the information. What you just saying was a whole mouthful. Like the idea of the objective statement. I always thought that was the dumbest shit in the world. Like
it is.
Why are you applying to this job? Because I want a job.
Exactly. What are we here for?
That's hilarious, man.
Nah, real talk though. But
and I got another question pertaining to the resume structure. Like, is it okay to put a picture of yourself on your resume? I see some people doing that nowadays too.
Absolutely not. Now there's two concepts. One, there's something called like the traditional resume, right? From a traditional resume perspective, you don't want any photos because also those don't parse well with. Or so there's an ATS system. The pictures don't parse well in the ATS. Pictures, text boxes, certain shapes and icons, it doesn't jive well. So then, if you do have that stuff, where your professional experience is, it's going to have like an education. This can be all jumbled up, and when they get it on their end, they're going to say nope, straight to the no pile, right? So you don't want that. Now you got these kind of like graphically designed, real nice and sexy resumes that you see, and it's like, oh, I look pretty popping. But the thing is, like, that's nice if you have the warm connection with a recruiter and headhunter, and you're just going to email that across. So it's not going through any automated system. Okay. But if you're going to put your resume through any automated system, i.e. applying online or applying on like a LinkedIn or something like that, where it says upload your resume, you want an ATS optimized resume and you do not want your photo on it whatsoever. That's why you have a LinkedIn. From a LinkedIn perspective, you got your photo on there, you have a headliner, you got summary again, and a whole bunch of different stuff. And so what we do is we put LinkedIn profiles on your resume in terms of the link. Key fact, a lot of people don't even do that still. And so they can easily click, access your LinkedIn, see your beautiful face, preferably smiling with a nice background and nice suited up, look real good. And then they'll be able to deep dive into your professional experience.
And one more thing just with it, the cover page, is that critical, like having that cover page attached to the resume? Like, or
cover letters, man. I mean, with the amount of applications due to the pandemic and just the amount of people who unfortunately were furloughed or laid off or couldn't, or just looking for a new job. I mean, there's so many resumes floating around that these recruiters don't have time to get to the cover letter. I'm gonna be quite honest, right? It's like one of those, almost like a thing in the past where it's cool if you put it together and you submit it with it. I mean, you might get a brownie point, you might, but 9 times out of 10, they're not even getting to the cover letter. It's like, yo, is your resume solid or not? Because I got 1,000 candidates to go through and read shortlisting the resumes, and that's what we're gonna do. So I'm not saying that they don't look at it, but it's not as high up on the totem pole as like a really nice resume or a really nice LinkedIn profile. That's what's super critical in today's day and age. And, you know, again, it's just the professional branding, right? Like get the photo on the LinkedIn and the nice summary. You can put your little header too, you can customize your header. So that's what's critical, right? Nice LinkedIn profile. You need a LinkedIn profile because it's your digital version of yourself. It's your digital business card at this point, and you need a nice resume to go along with that. And those two things is what really gets people in the door and then gets them hired.
Thank you for breaking that down, my brother.
I got money on my mind. I'm just trying to get some dough. I ain't picking up my line unless it's money on the phone.